We're back once again in Gaming Under the Influence. I'm Mike, and I'm here with Alex, coming to you from Green Dragon CVR, Vaughn's local source for craft beer and video games with free 24-hour delivery to anywhere in the city from our website, greendragoncvr.com. Fucking, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good, and, I'm feeling pretty good today, too. Not only because I'm fucking holed up here in Fort Liquor, as you see, but also because it's fucking...
What, the day after Ghost of Tsushima?
The day after Ghost
out?
of Tsushima, yeah. It's like, what's the day after Christmas called? Not Boxing Day.
Boxing Day.
It's that day for Ghost of Tsushima. And video game releases, Alex, I know you'll sympathize with this, are really like fucking holidays for people like you and I, aren't
they definitely feel like Christmas.
They're fucking way more exciting to me than most actual fucking...
especially
the secular holidays, but even many of the religious
This game
ones,
specifically, for some reason, surprisingly, like, I wasn't too... We were just talking about, we weren't too hyped about it. I wasn't too... So I was like, all right, it looks cool. We'll give it a shot, whatever. It can't, good reviews and everything. So
I'm going to lay my cards on the table and say explicitly the reason I was not psyched for it is because lately I fucking have not enjoyed the work of American developers very much,
That's a fair point.
I think the slant all of their games have possessed is not to my liking.
I mean, that's a fair point to be, like, apprehensive, right?
They've had, like, this banalizing slant to fucking make everything about stupidities and fucking sentiment and, I just wasn't interested in seeing fucking... toxic
American
masculinity
on,
like fucking Kamakura Japan edition. That wouldn't have been cool to me. But luckily we've avoided any such thing here, and Sucker Punch has delivered a fucking product I can say so far. Like, man, I wasn't expecting to fucking... Like, I was expecting this to be competent, but I wasn't expecting to enjoy it like to the extent that I am.
I figured it would be like, a AAA polished game, but I thought... most specifically, I thought the combat was going to be like...
I thought it was going to be... Remember we were sitting here saying it, and it did look like fucking Arkham
like
combat.
Arkham,
and it's not that.
It's not at all.
It's not at all that.
No.
Yeah. It's not at all that. What we mistook for fucking counter indicators were in fact fucking,
unblockable.
They were stagger meters and unblockable indicators like Sekiro, right? Yeah. But, man. So fucking, all that being said, like, I'm incredibly impressed with this game. Like, I was expecting to fucking play a little bit of it and then put it down and finish whatever else I was playing, but I'm fucking sucked in, man.
No,
and
I'm sucked in. I'm looking forward to jumping back in it.
I got that same
on.
open world fucking infatuation with this game that I've had with fucking Death Stranding and Maneater and fucking Days Gone, yeah.
Red Dead for me.
Red Dead, sure. And it's really sucked me in, and I'm enjoying it a lot, man. It's a fucking really well-made game, but, I think the most important things to note about this one are as follows. It's not only the first hyper-realistic fucking samurai game in my memory. Can you think of any others?
Does Sekiro not count? Because it's Souls-like?
So. I think it's fantastical, actually. Like, this is like a historical, like, more realistic, kind of like in the vein of Red Dead.
You're right. That one's
game,
okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
So in that sense, I think it's really like the first hyper-realistic, quote-unquote, in comparison to games like Sekiro and Nioh, samurai game that I can think of. And on top of that, we haven't seen much from Sucker Punch since fucking PS4 came out, actually. And I think this is it's a remarkable achievement for them because it draws not only on their past successes, but also on fucking the entire 8th gen of video gaming, as well as Japanese history, as well as Kurosawa films. Buddy.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the culmination of all of that. Like, their last game was Infamous, which was an early PS4 title, and then they came out with some DLC for that game, and then I guess they just went straight into this game because 6 years later, here we are. And you can see the progression from, that style of open world, the Infamous, moving over to this now, but...
This represents, like, to my mind, like multiple PhDs worth of fucking research and exercise, like intellectual exercise. It's incredibly impressive fucking active world building, buddy. And, that being said, like, that's, in my mind, its soul, this deep passion for Japanese culture, Kurosawa films. Mm-hmm. But also it represents this fucking, impressive literacy, again, with 8th generation video games and the concepts in them and how to use them to depict an idea. It represents to me, that's why I feel like this game represents, and the fact that it's successful, this thriving, this flourishing tendency in the industry, at least amongst competent prestige developers, towards the consolidation of this, like, formalized video game grammar, These, like, repeatable fucking formulas that you ensoul with your individual meaning, with your universe.
Yep.
That we're all familiar with, exactly like actual linguistic grammar and fucking vocabulary, which frees these prestige developers no longer having to fucking focus on contriving, like, novel mechanisms to depict things. They're thereby freed to focus on world building instead. And this is what we get from that,
Yeah, using that as, like, the template to really flesh out their idea and really depict what they want to depict, because they're sort of falling back on that successful formula that is an open world game with, all the little specific bits of that, right?
Yeah.
That, we don't have to go in depth with, but...
That's right, yeah. And I think that the interpretation that this is, you know, as people disparagingly call it, I'm thinking specifically of fucking a guy named Gene Part's review, of course, in the shit rag that is the Washington Post. Fucking prattling about how, like, this is the best 360 game. It's Assassin's Creed in Japan. And it's like, that's like saying fucking this book is that book with its own content, buddy, because it uses the same linguistic structures, because it uses the same fucking letters. Like, no, grammar, man. Those are the repeatable structures those are the signs. You're not looking through the sign at the signified. You're being like, well, look, I'm pressing the buttons in the same way. Like, you fucking, you're literally video game illiterate.
The same controller
That's video
for
game
years,
illiteracy,
like...
bro. You do not have what I'm attributing to these developers, like a fucking literacy in the mechanisms of video gaming in the 8th generation of consoles, you know? Like, that's why these kinds of things are important. Again, like, the thrust of my argument is it's good to not focus on making whatever the fuck this guy is expecting. In my mind, probably nothing. He doesn't have a positive counterpart to fucking this. It's better to focus on making this than that, because now you can have a world, again, that fucking represents literally fucking an astounding effort of world building. Like, there's fucking all kinds of beauty to be had here. If you're fucking not stuck on pressing buttons in a different way than you did before or whatever, you know what I mean?
Like what's the alternative? Like, what are they looking for? Like, something novel, something new, something like, what are you asking for by saying, because we saw the same argument with the Outer Worlds.
We did.
That was, this is like the best RPG from
or with
last
Days Gone,
gen,
or with fucking Destiny. You see it all the time with all kinds of things.
What's the alternative? Like, what are they sort of, what are they asking for? Like, what, you know what I mean? I guess they don't have to say specifically, because it just feels like a baseless argument.
It is a baseless argument.
Because you could say that any game, it feels like a last gen game. Well, what the fuck feels like a current gen? Like, what does that mean?
even more poignantly, though, right? Like, are you saying that having these kinds of repeatable grammatical structures in gaming is a bad thing? Because I'm putting it to you, it's good for this reason, that it enables developers possessed of these fucking refined mechanisms for depicting things to ensoul those mechanisms how they please. The same way we use words to describe, we use fucking alphabet to build different words to describe different things. We use sentences to describe two different things in the same sentence, for example, right?
That's true. So you're not proposing that they're just wrong. It's that the whole opposite direction is the the way it should be going.
That's right. And that's exactly what I'm proposing.
I agree, actually.
This man I'm saying to you is fucking dumb, because he's saying, I would rather have a novel way to press buttons than a fleshed out, fully realized world.
Right, yeah.
And moreover, again, this tendency towards formalization, towards fucking building a grammar that's widely utilized in fucking what comes to be a genre or a language or any kind of structure that's shared with people. Not only is it inevitable when people are progressing towards making more refined versions of something, but again, it is desirable because it allows people to focus on the signified instead of the sign. Right. To build something better to say instead of worrying about how to say it.
Yeah, it's almost like you can sort of allocate more of your resources to developing, like we said, the world, to
having a better fucking idea
around it, because certain things have already been laid out, right?
The fucking, they've been refined.
Refined. That's perfect.
You don't look for originality in the formal structure. You look for originality in the fucking thing you describe with it, so to speak, right? That's like saying every guy who writes a book should write his own language. It's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. It's a bad argument, buddy. It's a bad argument, Gene Park.
It's a good book, but
man, go back to golfing or whatever you fucking do, buddy. Seriously, dad bodding it or whatever the fuck. Yeah. Oh, people like that repulse me. But anyways, sorry. So, you know, there's a fucking the thrust of how we're going to fucking interpret this game, I guess. That is, it represents in the industry not only fucking the return of Sucker Punch to form, a developer fucking that's passionate not only about the 8th gen but about Japanese history and Kurosawa films, but it represents a tendency in the industry towards a formalized grammar, so that B, people can worry less about how they're going to say things and more about what they're going to say.
Right.
That's all good shit to my mind.
If you've played this game, what they're saying is pretty cool shit.
Yeah, what they're describing, the universe they're building is pretty cool. Not what they're saying, like what's the message?
No, not
like what are they describing? What is the depiction, right?
Everything that's being depicted is pretty sick shit.
Tangentially though, like even if The Last of Us conversely does try to say something in that crude like fucking, you know, political statement kind of sense, it does also consolidate the point we're making here, because The Last of Us 2, which is also a fucking critically acclaimed game, all of the problems that we may have with it aside, it's a fucking very well received game.
It is.
And what it is not is mechanically original at all. It's just not.
Right, and we didn't see any complaints
Which is good. Again,
which,
though,
I mean, yeah, you're right.
What it represents is that whether or not people like Gene Part disagree when the thought actually pops into their head, they operate as they actually think probably most of the time under this same presumption that it's good that fucking these guys already worked out how to make a girl move through some post-apocalyptic scenario.
Right.
They don't have to fucking work out how to do it. Instead, they can work out what they're going to show instead.
Right.
Fine, that's good. It's desirable. People aren't saying, wow, The Last of Us 2 is great because Ellie fucking, does some new shit. Yeah, like
she can go prone.
She can climb things slightly different. Yeah. Whoa, Gene Park, 10 out of 10. Like, man, no, buddy.
Yeah.
So, I guess that, these two games represent that for me. And the same kind of thing with Days Gone, a year ago, right? When we were talking about this fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's an exasperating point. Like, oh, I've done this before. It's of course
I think we've fucking talked about it already too much.
Yeah. So that's what this game represents. And I guess, we can move on to discussing its elements. And the first one I would like to talk about is the fucking universe, man, the setting. What's your impression so far of it, Alex? You want me to give a little fucking preface of the setting, like a little description of it?
Let's see what you got. What do you got?
So Ghost of Tsushima is set in Kamakura-era Japan. That's before the Sengoku period. I think this is in the 1200s.
Okay.
I think this is the period when the samurai social caste kind of originated. And the title you're setting of Tsushima is governed by fucking, this Jito, a feudal lord who the fucking protagonist is the nephew of.
Right.
And Tsushima, being an island off the coast, is
Lord
fucking
Shimura.
the first stop in the Mongol invasion of Japan. And, the Mongol invasion of Japan did, in fact, happen.
Right.
But in this game, Tsushima is invaded by a fucking, a fictional cousin of Kublai Khan, who was actually Khan of the Mongol Empire. He conquered the Song Chinese, I think. So fucking this guy's coming in to invade. You go with your uncle and like just 80 dudes to repel the invasion on the beach.
Right.
And he fucking humiliates your uncle and fucking kills all your dudes.
That was right at the beginning, right? That was,
yeah. And then, you survive and you set up to fucking build a resistance and fuck that guy up, buddy. It's pretty awesome. It's simple.
I like it. It's
elegant.
It's cool. Like I've always kind of liked the whole sort of Japanese like samurai ninja thing. But
Me too.
They seem to take in a nice direction. They seem to have a good understanding of it, whether it's from those movies, the Kurosawa movies, for whatever or whoever is doing all the research for them. Because I don't know a thing about this kind of
Nor
stuff.
Nor do I.
You know more than me for sure.
I just know what I've read other people say about it, which is that the Japanese publications, this is widely known at this stage, are saying it's like an authentic depiction of the culture. But I think honestly, like more than in my mind, I'm not so concerned with whether or not it adequately fucking represents history as much as I am with this fucking impression that it has an inner consistency of reality. That's to my mind more important than its actual correspondence with the real, right? Like, and fuck, is it ever an excellent? It's a great exercise in world building, the same way that Middle Earth is a great exercise in world building. Right? Whether or not you fucking invented the word Tsushima is different than the fact that it's a fucking an incredibly well-designed world,
right?
like from top to bottom, from like the fucking way that the hot springs and bathhouses work, all the way to like the social structures and like the fucking deep nature of reality and the way people, are inside of it and are in relation to their neighbors and shit like that. Like it's all really fucking thoughtful and well worked out, man. There's these excellent scenes where you sit down and write fucking haiku poetry.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to one of those yet, but that's really interesting.
I love shit like that.
That's a cool thing that I've never even seen before, actually.
And you can just imagine the Washington Post. Yeah, but I pressed the same buttons while I was doing it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game. The setting does look really cool. I noticed there's a lot of things like flying. So the wind is supposed to guide you, and I know we haven't really gotten to gameplay yet, but seeing all the shit flying around you, like the wind and flowers blowing, and plus with all the the architecture of the time, just everything looks so good. I fucking love it. Like,
I love it too.
Oh my god,
I love fucking the.
They did such a nice job designing.
Yeah, it's so well done. Everything is moving all the time. Every scene looks like a fucking painting, buddy. There's always a moving foreground right in front of your character. There's always like an immediate kind of background behind him where shit's going on. Fucking stuff's also moving. Then there's a fucking background with like. Beautiful, like painterly, like mountains or some shit. And always there's like you can always see on the horizon somewhere. I really like this touch too. The fucking scars of war on this like beautiful landscape. There's like a fire, or you can see like on the coast like this fucking horrifying sight of like a million Mongol ships coming. Right? It's fucking serious, bro. It's sick. It's so cool.
it looks like they put a lot of effort and work into just just the visual, not so much like graphics, but like the fucking just the way everything looks, the art style.
It definitely doesn't have like the best facial animations ever, or the most polygons, or what the fuck ever technical measure there is of these kinds of things. But what it does have is the best composition in the technical artistic sense, of like fucking congruence between all the elements. Like every scene, you could fucking turn on the photo mode and turn the camera around, and from every angle, it looks beautiful. No matter whether your guy's like in the middle of an attack animation and you fucking put on the photo mode, he looks.
It's funny. I was actually dicking around with that, and I had the character jump and like do like some kind of sword attack, and then I paused it at that second and rotated the camera just to see what it looked like him doing that from the front, right? Sick. And then I stopped because I noticed in the background there was like mountains and like the sun or something. There was just like a bunch of shit, and I was like, so I totally like moved away from the character, and I was like, wow, holy crap! I started taking screenshots of like just the surrounding areas and shit. Oh my god,
yeah, it's very. It
looks so nice, and
it's beautiful.
The color palette is like, holy cow!
One thing I noticed far, all the biomes like that you go to have like a distinct color palette, and there's always like a prominent warm and a prominent cold color.
Yeah,
and the whole scene is like an interaction between them, like orange and brown, or like
constant
fucking,
contrast,
green and
right?
white, like exactly, or green and red.
Yeah, they did some cool shit with the visuals of this game. Just and
the scenes, even just riding your horse, it looks so fucking dramatic, bro.
Yeah,
like everything's swaying in the wind, and the music, and the guys like getting down, like
it reminded me of when Zelda first showed off, or Nintendo first showed off Breath of the Wild, and it wasn't even like in engine. It must have been it must have been running on like a PC or something. When you see like Link was riding away on Epona, and there was like really tall grass, and you could see like the wind, and there's so much movement. That was more of like a tech demo, sort of first showing of Breath of the Wild. The graphics obviously didn't pan out to be like that because it's running on a Switch. This game sort of evokes some of that, and reminds me of like, just because obviously it has a higher graphic, fidelity on the PS4, but it looks beautiful. It almost looks like that tech demo we saw from Nintendo, and it's just fucking. It does. It's incredible looking. Like, it's crazy that they like you said, it doesn't have the most impressive facial animation or even just maybe graphics in general, but what they do with. That's what I mean, man. They're working with just looks amazing and beautiful on its own. It's incredible.
All these ways, this game to me represents like a studio, like a creative force they realize what they're working with. They're not fucking infatuated with the materials as much as they are with what they're building.
Best decisions.
They love their design more than they love look at my really great guitar. Like they're like, fuck it, I'll use a less good guitar to play a better song, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm down with that shit. I'm super down with that. I fucking am so down with that. Like, and I read on M4G today, like, man, on the new Xbox, like, Gears has, like, fucking quadrillion frame rate, and fucking this Gears game you played 2 years ago. It's like, wow. Oh, it's amazing.
2 years later, still talking about that game, eh?
Who actually gives a lick of a fuck? I just don't understand, I want to see games like this from those guys. Not even open world games or anything like that, but
just
like
something.
Like games like Gears Tactics, actually, like we said before, right? Yeah. Down for that shit. Yeah. But yeah, the fucking world building is really cool. And not only in like the visual aspects, but again, I think like a lot of thought went into, a lot of research maybe is the right word, went into like the fucking social structure and history of Japan in this period, right? Like even fucking little details, they have like these bathhouses that you visit, right? Like around the hot springs. There's a word for them, onim or something like that. I fucking wrote it down somewhere. I'm not going to remember. Sorry to anybody fucking, but yeah, man, there's fucking bathhouses, and like in this period, they weren't yet gender segregated. It's something that happened only when the West incurred after the fucking closure of Japan for hundreds of years, right? So like, yeah, you fucking go to these bathhouses, and the women attendants are like walking you there, and like fucking, and like, yeah, you sit in here, and it'll fucking, you'll be ready for battle, right? And that's actually what samurai did before they went to fight, apparently,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They would sit in like bathhouses. I know that's a big thing.
Yeah, Japan was like a volcanic country, right? So they have lots of hot baths,
hot springs.
And,
that's cool.
People thought it was like revitalizing and shit, which probably it is in some ways. Who knows?
I'd imagine.
Yeah. So little details, the fact that, for example, there weren't like gender segregated baths, right? Like there's women in the bathhouse with you and stuff like that. Fucking. The fact that like these fucking terms are employed accurately to describe like the relationship of master to servant, even like the fucking way that the monks are fucking talking, bro. Like there's this one scene in the Golden Temple there, that like a hub for the fucking rebels, where like this fucking all of the fucking refugees are fleeing the Mongol invasion. They end up there, and like some are talking to this Buddhist monk, and they're like, yeah, we're fucking starving. He's like, guys, maybe you're hungry, but what the pain you're really feeling is the pain of attachment. Like describing these like actual fucking doctrines of what somebody in his position would probably say to those people. Like it's just well thought out. It's fucking somebody sat there and was like, what would happen here? Like that to me, like little things like that are fucking stupendous touches, you know?
Little details.
Who thought about that?
Little things, guys.
Who thought like, what would this guy actually say to these hungry people, right? Like that's. And the fact that he had an answer is the most impressive part. You know, most people probably fucking wouldn't even bother down that line of questioning, right? It's astounding to me in that capacity. You know,
it is actually game has turned out to be surprisingly I think a lot better than we thought, right?
Way better than I thought.
Yeah,
way better. I thought
it'd be more like I hate to put like a number to it, especially because I've only played a few hours, but like somewhere in like the 7 range, you know, like good but not great. But
I expected like a Shadow
of
of Mordor style game. You know?
Okay, yeah.
Which like, what? I don't know. There is a distinction there. It's hard to elucidate though. Like I think if it makes any sense, we could think of Shadow of Mordor and even games like Arkham with the same traversal as more arcadey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do feel like it's like.
I think the difference is, which we'll get into in the gameplay segment, though, that this employs frame-based or animation-based combat, unlike those games, right? Like, I noticed in Batman or Shadow of Mordor, if you fucking hit the attack button, you're all the way on the other side, he'll fucking fly over and hit the guy. It's like, okay.
All right,
It stretches the fucking shit to make. Here, like, if you swing out of distance, it's not like you're just going to magically jolt forward. Instead, you have to employ an actual stabbing motion. It's fucking sick, But yeah, so that's, as I've been stumbling over this whole time, I really think the world building is impressive. Not only in terms of like the fucking concepts and research behind it, but also in terms of its implementation in visual terms, in terms of the dialogue and the kinds of places you go and things you see. It's fucking so well done.
It's some beautiful shit to really get immersed in. Especially the one thing I've been bringing up lately is that it doesn't have like a mini map.
Yeah, the mini map.
And that fucking to me contributes a lot.
Yeah, don't you find that changes a lot of shit?
That's the thing. Like, I know you can turn it off in a lot of games, so you have the option. But the fact that this just doesn't have it at all, it's like fuck you. No mini map.
Yeah.
You can pull up your map. You can mark the point you want to get to, and then you are just supposed to be carried by the wind. The wind guides you to your. Yeah. And I remember seeing it before the game came out. I was like, it looks cool, I guess, whatever. But to actually play it like that is fucking. It's a really refreshing take on. Yeah. It's kind of games that always have a mini-map. Yeah. With like, even in Red Dead, it's funny because
I always just stare at the mini-map, bro.
That's what I mean.
Especially because crucial information is there. They often don't have a way to indicate it otherwise. Like
in a game like that, it almost doesn't make sense because you're riding a horse and it takes place in like 1899. There's no such thing as like a GPS or anything even remotely close to that. So the mini-map is just, I mean, not to nitpick, but it's just kind of funny, right, that you have that tool at your disposal. Whereas in a game like this, where it's the same thing, you wouldn't have a GPS or anything like that, and it uses the wind to just sort of make it feel like natural. Yeah. And you can play like GTA and you're driving a car with a GPS, none of that. I mean, that's also nitpicking. Like, not to detract from Red Dead, it's a great game.
I understand what you're saying.
This is just sort of refreshing, right? It's cool.
If there's anything, like, everybody fucking loves Red Dead, buddy, but everybody can agree, like, in one way or another, there's this little bit they would shave off of it, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone fucking agrees on that.
Yeah. They could have toned down a little bit, but, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the more you get, sure, it's great, but...
Yeah, fuck, I definitely agree with that. The immersion you get from not using the minimap for me is crazy. And I love, like, fucking swiping the fucking touchpad there and seeing the wind go. And then fucking, if you're in the forest, all the leaves get fucking kicked up.
Yeah,
it's sick.
It's so cool. Honestly, it's such wicked, a cool thing,
I wish there was a button to sit, you know? I find myself wanting to sit. And
oh, yeah? They don't have that?
I don't think
so. This game doesn't have that?
If there was, I haven't found it. Just crouch. Horizon Zero Dawn in their photo mode, they have this thing where you can pose the character differently.
Oh, yeah.
Which is cool.
This doesn't have that either? No, Isn't that what photo mode's all about?
You can make him smile and shit, but you can't make his body like...
Whatever.
Yeah. But you can pause and use the photo mode at any point, so you can do it during attack animations, which is sick, I literally never gave a fuck about photo mode before, bro. Never.
I've
never been like, whoa, look at that. I want to fucking put that on my fucking something, you know? Like,
yeah, I never saw the appeal for photo mode, but I mean, I guess some people do, which is fine, but for me, it's like,
it's
whatever.
Beautiful. I want to put it on, like, my phone or, like, the desktop or like
like the pictures
a
you took
website.
specifically. Yeah.
That kind of shit.
Put it up on the Green Dragon site.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Like on the desktop page or like something like that, a backdrop.
Actually, I guess it would be good for that, taking your own custom screenshots.
Yeah. Oh man, it's great. I mean, as a last fucking comment on the fucking world building, one thing that I think distinguishes this from fucking most Western efforts is the fact that they like, and to me this is not a criticism, they uncritically depict like this hierarchical social structure, this well-ordered universe without any fucking internal tensions. Here the tension is external, right? Like, this is very much not
the samurai and the Mongolians, not samurai and the
It's a narrative that you can imagine would not fly very well if you transposed it to another setting, you know?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, that's why like this like fucking just honest and simple approach to it. Like these guys fucking, you know, they have this fucking place that's almost like an Edenic paradise. The animals cooperate with people to lead you to shrines and shit. It's like, you know, this fucking prelapsarian state of man. It's like perfect. The peasants love their masters. The masters love the fucking peasants. They would die for them and shit. Everybody's cool with everybody. And then the Mongols come along. And there's literally the point, I have a video on YouTube there, you're writing a haiku and the guy's describing them. It's like the Mongols, they're like this fucking crashing force, like blah, blah, coming in and disrupting the well-ordered house of Tsushima, you know? And I like that fucking, this simple, this is the theme, the drama of the game, the driving force of the plot. It's simple and beautiful and fucking universal, buddy. There's no need for weird fucking particularizing about literal specific ideas like revenge, toxic masculinity, like, you know what I mean? It's not about that. It's about this general fucking cosmic repeatable trope. Very much a grammar of reality, you could say, right?
Yeah, fair.
The same way that there's a grammar of yeah. I like that shit. I like it a lot. All of those things.
Just the fact that I've played a couple hours and I'm way more compelled to jump back in than I was for The Last of Us.
Yeah.
That says something.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But kudos to Sony and Sucker Punch for this one.
I like, for me, the reason I care about this and not about that is because this is a better exercise in world building. To me, it's really simple, right? Like, that's more focused on the fucking entities and having the world,
it's
and
less focused on the world, you know? And more focused on the drama, whereas
drama
this
taking
is
place within it, right?
Sort of the other way around, I guess.
Yeah.
Fuck. This is cool.
It's not the kind of thing that, you know, we were just watching this video moments ago of what's his name, fucking buddy
Nolan
North talking about The Last of Us 2. Somebody says to him there, you know, it's about the cycles of revenge. If she kills fucking Abby, then Lev will just come kill her. And Nolan North says, well, why doesn't she just kill everybody then?
Yeah, why don't you just kill Lev and Abby? That's it.
Man, I didn't make no fucking video games in my life, but if I did, I wouldn't want the point to be such a fucking something like, to which you could respond in such a manner,
revenge,
such a trivializing fucking
toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Herder.
That's like when somebody gets a tattoo and you're like, hey man, look at that tattoo. He's like, yeah, I got a wolf. It symbolizes my independence and spirituality.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
cool thing, bro.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Oh, man. Well, that's the universe of fucking Ghost of Tsushima, and
yeah, we should move on.
Yeah, I'm gushing about it because I really fucking, I'm infatuated with it, man. It's beautiful. It's a grand fucking epic gesture of world building. You know, fucking, definitely one of the best in modern video games. Like, I think I just personally prefer things like Death Stranding. You know, it's more like my fucking flavor, that weird sci-fi kind of shit, I guess, with fucking metaphysical themes. But this is fucking, insofar as like historical realism goes, which I also enjoy. Fuck, it's right up there, buddy.
It's right up there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really do like it. But on top of this, on top of the fact that it's an incredible gesture in world building, I think it also fucking does a lot to refine the fucking video game grammar of 8th gen fucking games, I guess. A stupid sentence. Yeah, talk a little bit about that too, though, right? Like, we said earlier that this game is cool because it represents a shift away from this fucking industry obsession with contriving novel mechanics, and instead towards a formalized, like, codified grammar that people can use to express better ideas. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say it's fucking not got some fucking,
or
that's not to say like it employs this grammar incompetently. In fact, I would say like it is innovative in, you know, little quality of life ways, little ways that it fucking composes pre-existing ideas into a novel whole, right? And I think one of the biggest things, like you already mentioned, this idea of the wind. This is a neat way they take this like fucking requirement of open world progression that you navigate the world in some fucking in some tangible manner, and it fucking says, well, We don't want our players walking through fucking staring at the minimap constantly. We don't want them fucking using their night vision fucking shit to look for fucking sticks on the ground all the time. You know? So let's fucking add these like more thematized, like fucking, you know, in-game, like they don't break the fourth wall as much. It's
more
kind of like
immersive elements, right?
Yeah, this translation of it into a. Yeah, I like that. I like the way that.
But it's not just the wind too, right? It's all you see, like flowers and leaves and
you do.
There's all kinds of shit blowing.
It's very cool.
It's really like. It's a lot more fucking.
It's cool though how there's this like this conversation going on between like, okay, we got this gameplay requirement. You need to navigate the map. You got the world saying fucking, you know, there's no fucking mini map that a character carries around with him. So they meet in the middle, and we're like, how do we make this function? How do we add it into the world? How do we fucking translate it into the logic of the world?
Right.
And I love that kind of fucking gesture, man. That's really cool.
Me too.
You
like
know?
I said before, I didn't think it was like that much of a big deal, but it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and I like
even
it. It's very
even if it
refreshing.
was totally unsuccessful, I would admire it just as an exercise.
Just as
like that you're thinking about doing that kind of thing. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
as like an attempt to sort of change something. Because if you're going to change something, I like that specifically sort of in an open world game.
Yeah.
Trying to fuck with things without having a mini map, right?
Yeah. See what I mean?
That ultimately leads to more of, like I said, it contributes to the world building and the immersiveness of the whole thing entirely.
There's little things like that, and there's even fucking shit like you know, like the healing system, for example. Like we talked about the Surge 2 and the way that you could fucking restock your healing items by fighting people, which is the same thing we have here. Like almost every element of the short-term gameplay loop, we can trace it to like a clear inspirator. You know what I mean? Like the movement kind of feels like Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Not like Red Dead, right?
Nope.
To just elucidate what I'm trying to mention with that, right? Like it's fluid. There's a lot of rolling and jumping and climbing. You can move around really easily, right? Jump and roll functions we've kind of come to expect in third-person action games other than fucking maybe Red Dead and Evil Within in the year 2020, right? And we've got, you know, against games like fucking Arkham and Shadow of Mordor, we have this animation-based kind of circumscriptive combat where like one press per sword strike, you know?
Right.
And it has a clear and immediate precedent in Sekiro, this kind of shit to me. Like swinging your sword in this game feels a lot like swinging your sword in Sekiro.
It definitely
Not that that's a bad thing. That's like one of my
that's good.
favorite games ever. And they also have a fucking opponents also have a posture that needs to be broken to land actual damage.
Right.
Which is also like Sekiro, or like Neo, while Jin can respond to attacks with a parry or dodge, both of which have this like perfect variable mode, kind of like in Bayonetta, right? Where if you activate the fucking dodge or the block at the right time, the guy's staggered, you break his block, and you can fucking execute him right away. You know, so that's really nice. Like I like how they add that element because it makes combat this thing where you have to stop and be like, all right, fuck, I can't just
it's
stop.
It's got that very deliberate feel, right?
That's right. Yeah, like when I play Horizon Zero Dawn. You can see me playing it on YouTube, man. Like I just fucking roll around constantly. That's the best way to do it, right? You get pretty much constant iframes. Yeah, that's right. When people stop shooting you,
you're almost invincible.
But in this game, you can't do that. Like I mean, you can kind of get by,
but you won't have any. You won't have any openings to attack. You need to.
You need to make those.
You need to stop to make an opening.
You need to make the openings. Yeah, you need to proactively make the openings, which is really nice. It has fucking that element from Sekiro, this fucking posture breaking, which can be simple. And again, like I said, like it innovates on these fucking elements, and I guess the way it does it with this is that it adds this fucking insta-block thing where if you fucking get a perfect one or a perfect dodge, you can execute the guy. Or almost execute him if he's a little bit stronger. They also fucking, though, appropriate this element of Neo where we have stances, right? Like each stance is fucking geared to, there's 4 different basic enemy archetypes in this game, and there's 4 stances. You're supposed to switch between them to confront each enemy, which is kind of cool. It adds another layer of that, you know? And
there's quite a bit of
There's fucking even a little bit of character action game in there because there's combos based on like, you know, hold down the button then hit triangle square.
Yeah, sort of like Devil May Cry type of combos.
Yeah, exactly. Like again, I said earlier there's like this fucking evident literacy possessed by Sucker Punch. You know, they're literate in fucking 8th gen video games. Like they know the fucking, if there is such a thing as a canon, they know what it is. They're fucking aware of how to adequately employ these mechanics, you know? And they're not afraid to change them where they fucking... That's truly how a language works. You know, I talked before about how a grammar is, but this is a grammar in the truest sense, right? Like fucking somebody takes it, they realize it's a tool. Like people worked it out. We're not just going to throw it away and start from scratch every time, but we're also not going to be afraid to tweak it a little bit, perfect it where we need to.
Yeah, use it to our advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So I really do like that. This demonstrates to my mind like fucking literacy in all of the great games. It draws from there where it needs to fucking have the tools to show the world it wants, right?
Right.
It takes this from that, and at the end it has everything it needs to paint a clear picture that it wants to paint,
and then even putting their own touches, like going after Kurosawa films and adding the mode where it's black and white to try and depict that, right? Because that's another clear influence on them.
Yeah.
They've done some sweet things, man.
Yeah. I guess it really does feel like, to me, like, fuck, combat can be difficult, right? Like,
oh, it is difficult. Yeah,
it's not like it's fucking Sekiro levels of difficult. It feels like, again, it feels like an arcadey Souls-like almost. It feels like Ghost. It feels like Sekiro.
It's almost like in between, between a sort of arcadey action game, like maybe a DMC or something like that, and like a Souls, where it still has that deliberateness.
Yeah,
but it's not quite as punishing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It seems like you put the fucking Sekiro swordplay on top of like Horizon's like movement and Shadow War's fucking.
It does feel like a blend of something like that. Yeah,
it feels Souls-ish, not Souls-like. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
It feels like it's got like a
new genre. Souls-ish.
I think Souls-ish. We can use that to describe games that have a Souls inspiration, but they're not in the genre. You know what I mean? I think in that same sense, Horizon would also be that, right? Like Horizon, the fucking, it's also got this like a deliberate, slightly more deliberate anyways, animation-based combat with dodges and iframes and shit like that. So, even here, the actual act of swinging a sword, does it not feel like comboing in Sekiro?
Yeah.
Actually, Sekiro might even be faster. You know what I mean?
You know what? Sekiro is probably a little bit faster.
With more movement and shit like that.
Yeah, that's why I think this is more almost like, in terms of, swinging your sword, your attacks, it's almost more like Dark Souls than Sekiro.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
Because it has slower, more deliberate strikes, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting, eh? Cheers.
Jelly King. Fucking, we got raspberry plum cherry Jelly King here, boys.
We're getting quite sufficiently influenced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really did enjoy the combat in that sense. I fucking also love dodges in every game I can possibly find.
There's rolls you can unlock too. You can roll away.
I fucking love though, like, fuck. There's so many things I love about this game, but another, this is a post-Sekiro game. I wonder how many of these things they added before and after Sekiro actually came out last year.
Yeah, that's because if they've been making it for 5 years, they've had plenty of time to like start doing stuff, and then Sekiro comes out, they've clearly influenced by all kinds of games before it, and then maybe even Sekiro a little bit.
Because they even have those like unblockable attacks with the red indicator.
That definitely came afterwards. I mean, not to take away from them, maybe they thought of it too, but let's be honest, Sekiro was the first game to have that, and we've seen it ever since, right? Did any of the Souls games have unblockable attacks?
Oh yeah, but I mean, you just dodge them, right? They didn't have it's not like
but
they
there's
had
no
this, like,
indicator,
codified,
right? Yeah, that's been like sort of made a standard since Sekiro.
Yeah, because it's a good system, right? Like again, I think that it's important to have video game grammars because, insofar as anybody wants to depict the same kind of action, and somebody else has already done so, there may be value in the other person's depiction, right? Mm-hmm. And historically, precedents exist for that reason, right? Nobody wants to fucking start from scratch, I fucking blabbed about this probably before, but this guy Ezra Pound has this great book called The ABCs of Reading, where he talks about different kinds of authors. Like some invent genres, some just iterate, but it doesn't make either of them better or worse than the other necessarily, right? Like a master can merely iterate, and fucking somebody who's shit can invent something, it doesn't necessarily mean anything at all. Like, what really matters is the fucking quality of your idea and how masterful you are at imposing it on your fucking painting, on your matter, right? Like, and I'd say these guys, again, like, they fucking demonstrate incredible literacy with fucking all of the fucking concepts and grammar and vocabulary of 8th gen video gaming, and what they do is they take all that shit and they build a fucking good sentence out of it, so to speak, right? Like, to
boil it down,
Yeah. And I guess the last thing, this is the combat. That's what I like to think of as the loop, like the Lego. The loops to my mind are like the Lego bricks of the game. You know what I mean? And progression is like what you build out of that, right? And if that fucking combat and movement and whatnot are different parts of the short-term loop, the open world progression structure is what we're building out of it, right? And I'd say like the open world progression structure, it draws a lot on the fucking conquest and exploration template we've seen in fucking games since Far Cry 3, right? Like, I guess Assassin's Creed kind of had that shit, but not in the same sense you're conquering the map. You know what I mean? To my mind, the first game I played mind you, I didn't play Far Cry 2, so I don't know. But
Far Cry 2, I don't think was like 3. 3 established that formula that you're speaking of, if I remember.
Yeah.
The Ubisoft template, they called it back then.
Ubisoft Utopia,
yeah.
And fuck, buddy, I must say I dig that template. I don't like it when they turned it into a loot game or when they fucking had microtransactions, but I fucking love the Ubisoft open world formula. And I think that's because, again, like, it's a great grammar, a great tool for depicting a world. Like, how do you do it better than that? I don't know. Like, what would you do differently?
It hasn't been done yet. That's the thing. When or if it ever is, bested or fucking outdone, then we'll talk about that. But right now, this seems to be the way going forward, the best way.
Now, that is it's the best way to depict a world where there's like two large groups of people fighting with each other, right? Like you can do something like GTA, of course, it takes place in, or Judgment, where there's no fucking factionalism occurring, right? Like you don't want to fucking go and like fucking take over territory. But I mean, like in a game like this, where you're depicting the Mongol invasion of Japan specifically, right? Like, there's a clear marriage.
Back, right?
You know, yeah, exactly. There's a clear marriage between the idea and the gameplay they chose to represent it, I guess I'm trying to say. And you know what's going to be fucking sick, buddy? To see what Souls does with an actual open world progression formula, you know? With that grammar, because that's what the fucking Elden Ring is going to work out like, right? That's what Elden Ring is going to work out like, so that'll be fucking cool, man.
That'll be interesting for sure.
It's fucking weird how video games are like this... like a dialectic, like these fucking parts speaking back and forth.
I was gonna say that. Yeah,
like
the
fucking
back and
inversely
forth,
determining each other. Like Dark Souls Zelda inspires Dark Souls, which inspires Zelda, which inspires Dark Souls. Right? Like it's something fucking
nuts,
cool.
Yeah, when you really think about it like that.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. But the open world fucking progression structure does draw on all that post Far Cry 3 shit. You know, the Mongols occupy these forts in strategic locations across the island.
Yeah, you take them back and then you sort of unlock use of that as a fast travel point or a merchant somewhere there.
And the cool thing I noticed also is that there's like different ones, right? Like sometimes they're in these castles that belong to a certain clan and you take back the castle and the people return. But sometimes it's like this fucking Mongol lumber camp and you take it over and the guy fucking burns it to the ground.
Dick.
It's hilarious. Yeah, so you fucking, essentially like that feeds into the fucking loop. You progress through the map, and when you conquer a place, it fucking kind of clears the Mongol patrols off the road, and you fucking loot a bunch of resources that fucking you can use to upgrade your armor and your shit. Kind of like, this is not, by the way, at all a loot game or an RPG. There's no levels or nothing like that. You get skill points by completing missions and whatnot. Your legend increases, but there's no like fucking measurable impact on the gameplay other than you getting skill points to unlock more, more abilities and shit like that.
Which I like.
Yeah, it's like Sekiro, exactly like Sekiro progression in that sense. No, Sekiro actually had more RPG elements with the levels and but the levels even there were just used to buy skill points, so it's kind of kind of similar to that. I do like it. There's no level gating whatsoever. It's not like Assassin's Creed in that sense. There's no janking up the skill-based fucking combat.
Yeah, there's not like overly complicated stats and different
like
builds and shit like that.
You can upgrade your fucking gear and whatnot with a few global resources. There's like a cosmetic resource. There's a couple of there's one armor resource or two. There's fucking one or two different fucking, sword resources. But other than that, it's very light on those things. Just enough to fucking incentivize you to fucking engage with the world. That's what all this shit is for at the end of the day, right? Like, we have to remember, like, we're looking at this, like, it's no fucking criticism again to say, oh, this part is fucking used from somewhere else or it's not too fleshed out, because the whole fucking part, the whole reason anything should be in here, and again, I think this game demonstrates this well, is to fucking contribute to that fucking fleshed out world, which everything does here, You fucking want to engage with an armor smith. You want to have this sense that your character is becoming a better samurai, but you don't want to bog down the game with fucking Neo-style progression elements, right? Like, which to me were just fucking suffocating, bro.
Oh my god, Neo is a great game.
It is a great game, but that's
a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, that's like,
which is great because Ghost of Tsushima so far has been. I feel like I'll get more enjoyment out of it. So far, it seems like it's gonna take me, or it took me by surprise, and like I said, I thought it was gonna be like good but not like great. Now I'm starting to think like this is gonna be a great experience that I'll sort of look back on and remember. It'll be in one of our lists, and
for sure
something we'll refer to in the future, right?
Another cool thing that it seems to draw from other fucking games, specifically The Witcher 3, is these like multi-stage, like voice-acted side quests with like fucking characters that introduce you kind of like to the lives of the peasantry after the invasion, like to imposter samurai. Fucking, you meet like people's like thieving brothers and like traders who like betray their fucking masters and shit like that.
Yeah,
fucking all kinds of stuff. These side quests, they don't really like occupy it. One thing that I noticed is like, how you play some games and there's like a few templates for side quests. It's like, this is like a chase mission and this is like a whatever, like
fetch quests and shit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's these like templates for missions. It's just like a bunch of handcrafted individual scenarios where you go here, you do this thing based on what the story requires of you in that sense, so that's cool. They're well written and interesting, always a source of information into the wider world, which is cool to me, a boon to the fucking world building. I do like that shit. I like that fucking the inner logic of this world moves fucking everything, from the side quests to like even menial tasks like of unlocking health upgrades. You got to go to fucking hot springs to unlock the health upgrades, and while you're doing that, you sit there and Buddy like reflects on some aspect of the invasion and you learn some detail of, like, nothing's useless or throwaway. Everything serves that fucking primary goal of world building.
It's not just get to the point and then you unlock your thing and move on, right? There's a little bit of sort of added interaction there,
that's
right?
right.
That's
Yeah.
fucking cool.
I do like that. Yeah. Everything's flavorful and useful, and yeah.
And they didn't piss away the last 6 years. You can definitely tell they've worked hard on this, right?
Yeah. So that's fucking all my thoughts on this one so far, I guess. Well, that's Ghost of Tsushima, guys. Fuck. I implore all of you to check it out. In the same manner, I thought Far Cry Primal the other year was a stupendous fucking gesture of world building. Literally, I feel the same way about both these games. Actually, they fucking take this otherwise grammatical or generic formula and use it to express a concept that apparently escapes fucking people who work for the fucking Washington Post, but that doesn't describe me.
Is that really surprising?
Surprise me in the least. Yeah.
Yeah, this gets like the Green Dragon seal of approval or something.
Does. If
so
such
far,
a thing existed.
we need
the green weed leaf of the Green Dragon approval.
Yes.
Yeah, the multi-beer stamp.
Yeah.
Cheers to you guys. I fucking hope you have a good week of gaming, and we'll be back to talk to you soon.